So today we will continue talking about all things relationship, dating, and addressing some of the questions we received and some of the thoughts that we've had on the subject. And just as usual, it will be a free-flowing conversation with whatever comes up. And guys, whoever is joining us live, please feel free to share your comments or questions, maybe your experiences, anything that you would like to bring up is absolutely welcome. But shall we start with addressing, maybe if you don't mind talking about some of the questions that you received since last Monday?
I prepared them some, and I'll just read it out. So, what are the red flags we need to consider on our first date? Shall you start with red flags? What do you think are the red flags? And we should also cover the white flags, the green flags.
I think, look, many of them are very subjective. As everything in the relationship, they are subjective. There is no book that fits all. But for me, and I think for many people that I spoke with, few things to look out for are really if, and I think it would depend if you actually met the person before, if you've known them, or if it's someone you met online and you're meeting them for the very first time. But I think, just for me, it's important for the person to be on time. If they are running late, that's a red flag. For some people, maybe it's not. And some would argue that it depends on the gender as well. It's sort of more acceptable traditionally for a lady to run a bit later. But for me, I think both people should make an effort to show up on time on the first day. And how I would say, listen to your body and tune in and see how you feel around that person. Because they might talk the talk, but and be really good at telling you a beautiful story, but your gut feeling knows if there is something really not right for you. So I would say listen to your body, and just also noticing how the person interacts with other people. Are they polite? Do they really do their words match their actions? This kind of things that are important and coming up for me in the first place. What about you?
Yeah, I would also say listen to your body, your instincts, and especially when the whole time, if you want to say something, the person just interrupts you or runs you over with their words. I think this is also a huge red flag. Okay, maybe they are just nervous and they don't know how to tune in. But if you feel you're not heard for whatever reason, I think this is kind of a big red flag. Also, when you mentioned being on time, I think this depends a lot on the culture also.
Yeah.
Because I remember once we were invited to a party in Dubai and we came sharp on time, like we are used to. And they were looking to us like, what are you doing here? It's 7. Yeah, you said at 7. Oh yeah, come in. And then people start coming at 9, because then we later found out that the host of the party was Latino guy, and they just say at 7, and they mean, like, for them, if you say at 7, it's at 9. So I think also this is something to have in mind when you are in international juncture of cultures. And yeah, but for me, this is like also the red flag. If I have to wait for somebody, then I don't like that. What else? Yeah, if somebody is really not interesting, or they say they're interesting, but they have the phone all the time in their hands and they're just chatting with someone, this is not nice. So, but other than that, I don't know. I would go maybe for a green flags. What to look out in the person. I think also this is subjective, but if somebody is really listening to you, if they are, if you see that they are kind, that they are respectful, not only to you but also to other people around you, I think this is nice. This is good, and that you feel safe, that you feel good with them, and that you don't feel like really nervous, and that you need to present yourself differently in order for them to accept you. So I think this is a green flag, that you feel like you are totally accepted, like you are. Yeah.
love this one. And I think safety is just so important for any relationship to have a foundation. But there is potential risk of kind of misjudging it for someone who does have some sort of trauma or has a history of negative relationships, let's say, or even abusive relationships. They may not really necessarily feel safe with anyone the first time they meet. It may actually take a long time for them to build that trust and safety. And so for them, I think they need to be a bit more mindful that even if they do not necessarily feel safe at the first date, but overall, you know, the person seems caring, the person seems interested in them, genuinely showing this attention. And I loved what you said about actually listening and just being present and inviting you to share your story and whatever your interests are. I think those are really important characteristics to look out for. And another thing for me that came out from what you were sharing earlier, Petra, was that actually a lot of people are shy and nervous on the first dates. So they might not do their best self, just like some people are not doing very well at the job interviews. And this is kind of a job interview, if you like. So I think we need to be mindful of that and allow certain discount for that, thinking, okay, he or she seems a bit odd or awkward, but overall there seems like there are a lot of good things there, and we are having interesting conversation, and I feel good with the person. Maybe I give them another chance. But I think quite often people just shut off an opportunity just based on one thing or two things that they didn't like, you know, and that could be a result of a person being nervous in the first place.
Then I got another question. What is an important first date rule? And I was really thinking about that, because I don't think there are some rules in dating or first dates, rather than be on time and be respectful and be okay, be yourself. Okay, those are kind of rules, but for me, what is also important, that you don't have expectations, that you don't have in your mind a fixed image of a person, that person you're going to the date with, that you have them like, he or she should be like this and this and this, because then you will be disappointed. And I think those expectations, they lead only to disappointments, nothing else. Also regarding those first rules, shall I pay, shall he pay, shall we split, what to do or what to talk about, or when to text him, her after, I think just follow your heart. I don't know if there are some good rules around that. What do you think?
Well, I think the one who pays for what is a very touchy subject for many people, and I think it's also very culturally different. So again, being, for example, in places like Dubai, people often get caught up in this misunderstandings, if you like, and there are, I know people, certainly quite a lot of ladies coming from my part of the world, for them this is a huge red flag. If the man would not pay the bill, they'll be like, this is it, I'm not going out with him again. Well, people from Western Europe are more inclined to split the bills. Or I also have some female friends who would never even allow the guy to pay for them. So I think just keeping in mind the cultural differences, and also not being completely saying this is right, this is wrong. I mean, unless you're very intent on like this is a deal breaker for you, then you need to also understand that you want to be dating a person from your culture, and then you'll be totally aligned on those kind of things. But if you want to explore wider, it's good to understand those different moments, and don't take it, because it's not really about the action, it's what you make it mean, right? So if someone didn't pay the bill, what is the interpretation? Like, oh, he doesn't care about me, or is it something else? And then you can address that. I know a lot of people have the point you made about around texting, you know. People sometimes overthink it and overcomplicate it and think, oh, you know, I don't want to seem too needy or look like I'm too interested, and they almost come up with like, oh, I need to wait another hour before I respond. I've seen it, I've heard it, and honestly, it does seem a little bit childish. And from my point of view, why would you want to get into a relationship starting off like that, playing this kind of games? I mean, if you are near your phone and you have a moment to respond, well, just do it, you know? And if the person doesn't take time to respond, then, well, maybe either they're playing games or they're not interested, or both. Red flag to me, either way. I don't know if you have other views on this or anything to add.
Yeah, don't play games. Not like this. Play games in the bedroom, but don't play games like this, you know. I don't think it's a good strategy if you start with some mind games that you're playing tricks on somebody else just to get attention or just to get this kind of hard to get feeling from somebody. I don't know, but that's my opinion. So this is what we are talking about is really subjective, and so everybody, like you said beautifully before, that we have different backgrounds, we have different cultural views on the world, and it's different for everybody. So also with this paying, I would say just talk about it. If you think that if they are splitting the bills and you say, okay, is this something that I should be offended, or is this normal for that guy, for that girl? Just maybe ask. You don't have to think about like making some predictions about why he's behaving like that, why does she behave like that. Ask. Yeah. We cannot know if we don't ask, you know. So I think good conversation and also listening to the people is for me the best strategy.
Yeah, that's true, but that requires, you know, a certain degree of vulnerability, opening up, asking the question, having the conversation, and quite often people are not comfortable with that because they're not used to it. So instead, they just follow their assumptions and their ideas of what's happening completely automatically, making the decisions and moving on. And then they're just going on saying, well, there are no good guys or no good ladies out there and so on. And I think I shared this article with you earlier today in Khaleej Time about dating and how difficult it is in Dubai in particular. And I think they were talking a lot about the dating apps as well. But also, you know, talking to people, I do hear a lot of those stories. And I think some of it is to do also with expectations, which you touched upon earlier. And it seems like in this city in particular, there are very high expectations coming up from some people, and some of them are completely unrealistic, especially for people who are new to Dubai and they come from, let's say, Europe or anywhere else, and they just can't even imagine that that's expected of them. Mm-hmm. What's your take on that? Have you heard of any stories or any?
Oh, I saw one interesting reel on Instagram when I think it was the first date, and I don't know who was filming that, if it was staged or not. But the lady was really insisting for the guy that he should open the doors for her in the car so she could sit in the car. And they were arguing like for 5-10 minutes, like open the door, okay, and he opened the door from inside, and that wasn't good enough for her, so he had to go around and open the door for her, and then she sits in the car, and he was thinking like, okay, I drove here for 45 minutes just to pick you up, to show you my good mood that I'm willing to do that, and now you're making me a hard time on a first date. Please go. I'm rather alone, you know? So I think those kind of expectations and hard rules, like he needs to open the doors for me. Yeah, okay. But being so harsh on it and just so strict, it's nice if he does, but I don't think this is a rule that he must, you know, that if he doesn't, that you don't go for a date. Or okay, if this is your hard rule, like hard no, if he doesn't do that for me, then he doesn't respect me, okay, but then you need to find the guy who does. But I think there are not so many guys that would do that. I don't know.
It's a brilliant example, and I think it goes back to what we spoke about, I think, last week as well. Is really drawing a line, right? Because you may have a list of 100 items of what you would like to see in your partner, but you will never meet. You may wait all your life. You'll never meet someone who ticks off 100 boxes, and not even 10, perhaps, of them. But you need to understand which ones of them are absolutely deal breakers and which of them are not. And I mean, if not opening the door on the first day is one of them, I'm not sure where that relationship would go anyway. I think there are much more important things for a relationship to thrive, and bigger fish to fry in the long term, and they need to be more aligned on those things. And you know, I think men nowadays are also under a lot of pressure from all sorts of different messaging and expectations, and there is a lot of confusion. So I think they have a lot to deal with. And I know a lot of guys who have felt many times used and abused by women in the dating scene, in particular in Dubai. So at some point, you know, how many doors can you open and how many fancy expensive dinners can you pay for when you don't get a call back the next time you want to meet the person? I also get that, and I think some are almost holding back to show their full, almost, you know, all the manners and all the care before they get to know you better, because they're also tired of emotionally investing and financially investing in people who are just there to use them. I have a good friend of mine, a male friend of mine, who I've known for 15 years probably now, and probably after, and I never told him, you know, you need to open a door for me. But after some years, we were once in the car and he opened the door for me, and I was really surprised. And I was like, oh, thank you, this is really nice. So yeah, these things also change, but you don't really, I don't think you can get someone to change by pushing them into change or forcing them. But that's a brilliant example.
Yeah, that was really like, if I would be the guy and I would have the girl like really pushing me to do something, I would also drive away, because I don't think this is okay. And when you mentioned all those expectations and expensive first dates, I heard one lady once really, she was bragging about how she found one, and she was in a relationship, how she found one app where you go out with the guy and he pays for you in really nice restaurants, like really good restaurants in Dubai. And I was thinking to myself, this is the wrong world. You know, just going out with somebody to get dinner in a fancy place that you otherwise cannot afford for yourself, this is wrong. This is not okay. So I think if you go to for a date, why choosing the most expensive places in the town where you live? If you otherwise you wouldn't go there because you cannot go there. Okay, if he drives you there and it's his wheel, okay, but if he asks you where do you want to go and you just pick one up and then order the most expensive dish on the menu, I don't think this is okay. Especially if you have in mind that this is one time only.
Interesting point. And you know, as I was listening to you now, I thought that I was just talking about how I feel for the man having to deal with all these expectations and challenges and so on. But now almost playing the devil's advocate. And also because I did have this conversation with a friend of mine. Also, like, guys, you also know on some level, and you are engaging in this game, if you like, and you allow them to take advantage of you. If you just met a girl on this app or something, and straight away she's like, well, take me to the most expensive restaurant she can think of, and this is the most important thing. I mean, this is pretty red flag to me, if you ask me. If I were a guy, I would be like, how about we just meet up for a coffee and see if we actually have an interesting conversation. And if she says no, well, yeah, it's kind of clear she's
what you want.
So I think in a way, you know, like, yes, I feel for the guys, but also sometimes they're enabling these behaviors.
also for the guys, like the guys who are listening now. What kind of, we were talking about that last time, what kind of persona you want to show, like what kind of mask are you wearing when you, if you take the girl out to the most expensive restaurant and then you are like, oh, I don't want to do that, you know, then don't take her there, you know. If there is not, there is something that you cannot even afford, maybe, because if you start to taking the girl out in the most expensive restaurants in the world and take her out to the really fancy places, then she will think that this will be her life after 1 year, after 2 years. But if this is only for first month, so you catch her and grab her, then she won't be happy, she will go away. You know, so be yourself. If you like to go hiking in the nature, take her to for the hike in the nature for the first date, maybe. Doesn't have to be some Namos or something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that this is a good point. You know, it's really being yourself, and but also being paying attention to what the other person is broadcasting. Are they genuinely asking about you? Are they interested to learn about what is important to you, what you're interested in, and you know, really get to know you as a human being? Or are they interested in finding out, you know, what you do for a living, what car you're driving, and so on?
How much is your salary?
Yeah, and I was wondering, as I was saying that, what would be the equivalent questions, you know, for the, what would the guy be asking? I don't even know, but like these are.
So I think a good conversation is around hobbies, around your passions, around what you like. And if you are a guy and the girl says that she just likes to go out and be in the beach clubs and this kind of stuff, this, for me, this would be a red flag. Also, if I'm a girl and I ask the guy and his only hobby is to go out and be in the bars in the evening, that for me is the red flag. So I think something that you align your values, your passions, your hobbies around, I think this is something that I would be interesting to talk on a first date. Maybe just some topics, not what kind of work you do, what is your job, what kind of car you drive. This is okay. But what are you interested in? What do you like to do when you have your free time? This time, these things, I think they are more important for me. Like that is something that I would ask.
Yeah.
What would you talk about?
No, I definitely agree with you. So for me, it is about interests and what is really important to you, and you know, you can go into what kind of qualities do you like in yourself, or what do you think you would like to develop and you do not have that quality, or what do you like, what is important for you in the relationship, or what is important for you in the other person. So I like very deep philosophical discussions as well. So if I feel that the person can really communicate on that level, that's where I would go. But I'm also curious, you know, what are the red flags in terms of the questioning that a guy could do? Like the women would ask about the cars and income, etc. But like what do I wonder? I wonder what they could ask that would be like, because men are rarely interested, I guess, in kind of how much money you make, or I mean, I read in this article that there are men who also try to get money off women, so that's probably also out there. But that's perhaps not the most common one. I think the most common one is really people who are just kind of trying to look for something one-off, but they might present themselves as looking for something serious. But they are not always easy to detect. And another thing I've heard a lot of actually is that apparently there are quite a few people, well, quite some men here in the region who are married, but they don't disclose it. So they go out on dates and they say, yeah, I'm single. And then, you know, if something comes to light and they're like, well, I'm separated, or we're in the process of getting divorced. So there is that as well, apparently. Never happened to me personally, thankfully, but that's what I've heard.
Oh, that's a hard one. But, you know, you cannot know, because then the people is just lying, and he wants only one thing from you. So
I guess, you know, that would be, there's these situations, and I'm just kind of getting curious as we speak about it. I think a red flag would be connected to that. If the person doesn't really introduce you to anyone from their circle, so you've been going out for a month or two and you haven't met a single friend of his or hers, or you haven't met the colleagues or anyone, you know, so if they keep you really isolated as a very, very separate part of their lives, that could probably be also something to investigate.
I have one friend that she's not living in Dubai anymore, but she told me that she was on some dating apps, I don't know which, and she met one really nice guy. They made the connection. They really she felt like he's really interesting and everything. And then he wanted to move into Dubai. And then he started, oh, I lost this and lost that. Can you send me maybe $20, $30? And I think then during it was 6 months or 1 year period of time, she gave him quite a lot of money. Oh. And then the guy just disappeared when she said, okay, now I want to have this money back. He just disappeared. So be aware. If you are, because you said before that there are some scams on those apps, I think never send money. Don't send money.
Yeah, that's
because those online relationships, people can write everything. They don't need to mean it, and if they are really after some valuable things or money or something else, they will say anything. So.
Now there is AI coming to their help as well, right? And I think, you know, people talk about how that could potentially be a big concern. I listened to this podcast where a psychologist who works a lot with men, and he was talking a lot about the raising rates of depression in men and how they are isolated and how difficult the position is nowadays, you know, with whole mixed messaging, and men don't even know how to be in this world where on one hand, they are expected to be still masculine and show up and open doors, if you like. But on the other hand, they are almost beaten up every time they try to be in that masculine energy and saying, well, you're not treating us equally. So it's a very confusing place to be. And so more and more men are finding themselves very lonely and finding it super difficult to actually connect and create meaningful relationships. So this person was saying that the big threat that he sees in not so distant future is really that someone may use artificial intelligence in a way to basically reach out and connect to some of these men, and they'll have this AI girlfriends that obviously they wouldn't even know it's AI, but you know, and this is a way to manipulate them going down and get them to do things that whoever is on the other side wants to do. Mm-hmm. And it could go on a very big scale in terms of even, you know, like terrorist attacks and whatever. Because in the end, we're all wired for connection and people want to connect. And if they are on one hand completely isolated and then they're given this illusion of love and connection and someone, even if they're behind the screens, that they really value you, they understand you, they hear you and they care, it's very, very appealing.
Mm. Yeah. And I've heard also so many stories when some guys and girls, they met online and they are now okay together and they're really happy. And so, yeah, be aware, just be aware. And I'm always advocate for go all in. Like if you go for a date, just be yourself and put your whole heart into it. Don't hold back. But I know that many people can be really hurt and have really bad experiences, and then they are a little bit walking like on eggshells. But I think if you really want to experience the connection between two people, you need to open your heart. Yeah. And risk. Yeah, love is risk.
That's true. No guarantees, and I love this advice. It's like almost you need to live at home and leave behind all your past history, all the disappointments, everything that perhaps didn't go right in the past, and just be with the person in front of you. Like, okay, this is something new and just give it the best shot. Easier said than done, I know. But
yeah, and go to a therapy. Just go for a therapy, explore your depths, your thinking, your patterns, the way that you live and the way that you think. And I think this is the biggest gift you can give yourself and your future partner, that you are okay with yourself. So no matter of age, of gender, it's good to have at least one therapy in your life.
absolutely. I echo that.
Yeah. Anything else you wanna share to some, I don't know.
Well, I'm just looking at the notes that I've had before the session, and I think the only things that we did not really speak about that I thought could be interesting is around pace of dating, and I think it's again super subjective, and there is, I don't know if you have a different view, but sometimes relationships move kind of pretty fast through different stages, and sometimes people can be friends for a long time, and then after a while they move into more intimate relationship. And I think there is no right or wrong, as long as it feels good and natural and just flows that way for both people. I personally believe what is wrong is when you get those so-called mixed signals, which are not really mixed. They are pretty much the other person not being emotionally available usually, or both people not being emotionally available, and then it looks a bit like you don't even know where you stand with that person. So that I wouldn't want to waste my time on and wouldn't recommend to anyone. What's your take on pace?
On pace? Yeah, do whatever it feels right. I would avoid over texting and over calling and over expectations. So if you expect that somebody will just live their life because of you, then I think this is not a good expectation, because we want to seek the person who still is having their own life, and you are his or her partner, and not just, yeah, we all want to be the whole world for somebody else. But oh yeah, and this also, you said it last time really beautifully, and yesterday I heard it by the breakfast when the people next table were talking about that people have really mixed expectations. And you said it beautifully, like if you want to have a husband that is really rich and everything and has like many businesses, and then you expect for him to be home all the time, and then you divorce him because he doesn't have time for you, you know, this space is also not good, or thinking it's not good. Like if you what do you want, come on. You know.
True. Well, that goes back to expectations, but I think, yeah, that's another one. It's all linked, and you can also talk about pace in relationship to all the rules and expectations, and that some people think when is the right time for a first kiss or the first time to have sex, and so on and so on. And some people are very like, oh, it needs to be the second date, fifth date, 10th date, whatever date. But again, I think there is no rule fits at all. And but some people are really overthinking it in a very analytical way, if you like, and I don't think that's an area of your life when you want to create an Excel sheet and just follow a chart.
Yeah, I texted him twice, he texted me back once, he just said okay, not the whole world. Yeah. No. This is not okay. Yeah.
Wow. Oh. I think we can be talking about it for another hour easily, but perhaps we can wrap it up for today, unless there is anything else you wanted to share.
I don't think there is much to talk about more. Maybe some viewers want to ask something, they want to share something with us, then just go and do it. But otherwise, I would just thank you for your time, and please like and share and subscribe to our channels. And yeah, we are here every Monday.
Thank you, and thank you, Petra. See you.
Thank you, Rina. Bye bye.
Bye.